Hey guys, this is the Geek XP. Today I wanted to talk about and analyze the newest episode of Steven Universe, When It Rains. In the newest episode of Steven Universe, we had a fun little interaction that we got to watch between Steven and Peridot. The previous episode, Catch and Release, we got some of that, but this episode was even more dedicated to that, and I think we all enjoyed the outcome of it. There are certain things that happen that I want to talk about and what I think this means for as we move forward, things that might happen, and then also talking about just the show in general, things that I'm observing, and they're all good things, but things that I'm observing and what this means for the show. First off, I think it's important to note how much the gems don't see Peridot as a threat. At the beginning of the episode, we open up and Garnet is banging on the door telling Peridot to let them in. Now, this was sort of happening in the previous episode when she first ran in there, and it's worthy noting that if they really wanted to get her, like if they really thought she was a danger, Garnet and Pearl and Amethyst would break down the door. It's just a bathroom door, they can fix it. They've wrecked a whole pizza shop during a fight before without a worry, so breaking a bathroom door would be no problem if they really wanted to get to Peridot. Which means that they really don't see her as a real danger. I think without her limb enhancers, she's not as threatening to them in general. And then this goes back, and I say this a lot during the videos with her when I'm watching the episodes, and it's like, well, why doesn't she summon her weapon? What is her weapon? Weapon. I was thinking about it, and Neon Seas posted a comment about it, is that maybe she has never had to summon her weapon. In that in current gem society with all these technological advancements, and that if she has her limb extenders, that she's never needed to summon a weapon because she just uses those. It has the energy ray, it's got her fancy crawly fingers and, tech pad and everything. So she's never had to use that, which is super interesting. Another thought I had was that maybe not all gems can summon weapons, and it's only gems that are made for war and combat, because we know gems are made, not born. Steven being the only exception. And so maybe some gems just aren't designed to summon a weapon. And so that's a possibility because the gems don't seem worried about her creating weapons. So maybe they know something that we don't. Going back to the previous comment about her never needing to summon a weapon before, if the end of this episode is any indication, it really feels like that she might become a member of these crystal gems. So girl, switch out that yellow diamond for a star because you're about to become a crystal gem. Which would be super exciting. And a thought I had was that we could possibly see Peridot being in a combat situation with the gems as she's showing them things about the cluster, and they try to prevent it, and they'll probably fight more of these fusion experiments, and she'll be stuck in a combat situation. It'll be like, summon your weapon, and she can't. And if we get an episode where she will approach Steven, because we already know she doesn't trust the other crystal gems, or crystal clods as she used to call them. I don't think she's going to call them that anymore. Maybe a couple times. She'll say that she can't summon her weapon and will approach Steven and say, please help me learn to summon my weapon. And so this goes back to, I think it was the first episode, Gem Glow, in which Steven was trying to learn how to summon his weapon, and something that the gems tried to teach him. And so now we have this situation turned around where now Steven is the one teaching a crystal gem about being a gem. And I think this is telling of the show in general, and one of the elements that makes it stand apart from a lot of other animated television. What I think makes this show so great is that the characters change and the status quo is changed. Very often in animated television, at the end of the episode, everything remains the same, and you kind of go by this episodic pattern in which something happens, the characters resolve it, and at the end of the episode, we're right back where we started. Steven Universe breaks this pattern. There are some episodes that, nothing really big happens, but then we have our big story arcs, where permanent change has occurred. And something that I've noticed with the show, particularly, is the hero's journey of Steven. And for those of you who don't know, the hero's journey is something that is explored a lot in Joseph Campbell and his work, and something that George Lucas did a lot of research in when he was making the Star Wars films. But there are different roles that different characters have, and these are character archetypes. We've got Threshold Guardians, you've got the Trickster, you got the Shadow, all those sorts of things. And these are starting to become very present in Steven Universe and showing his progression, not only just as a character, but as our hero. At the beginning of the show, he's very goofy, he's very funny, he's not very brave, he can't fight that much. He likes to eat a lot of ice cream and food, and he still enjoys that, and that's where part of what makes him so lovable. But he is changing, and he's growing into the hero and the extended intro that everyone wants him to be, because we believe in Steven. Thinking about when they went to the strawberry fields long ago, and Steven is covered with the strawberry stuff, and the butterflies fly in his face, and he starts crying, and it's cute. And it's just like, oh, Steven. But now, and I think I really first noticed this change. I'm sure there were signs of it beforehand, but the time that I first really noticed it was in Sworn to the Sword, when Steven runs in to stop Connie from her sword training because he's worried about what it's doing to her mentality and the way she views herself, is when the Hollow Pearl comes up behind him, and he's like, you haven't seen Connie, have you? And the Hollow Pearl has her sword, and instead of being like, or running away, Steven instead, gets into a battle stance. He's no longer the afraid little boy that we knew at the beginning of the show, and he is more capable and willing to take on challenges. And then we see this again in Friendship, where he's on point the whole time in that episode. And when they're in the ship and the lasers start shooting, he's dodging them. He puts on his game face, rolls, and then activates his shield. And he's totally on board with it. Like, he's still his goofy Steven, but we're seeing him grow into the kind of leader and hero that I think Rose Quartz was. Maybe without the really dark and mysterious past that I think Rose has. That's a talk for another time. I really like that the show is doing this. And I think moving forward, we're going to see Steven go from the student to teacher in terms of teaching Peridot how to be a hero, how to be a crystal gem. But what makes me afraid is that if they're going to do that, this is a show that I feel wouldn't be afraid to kill off Peridot. And it breaks my heart to think about it. And because she's becoming one of my favorite characters very quickly. She's very funny. But I think when Yellow Diamond shows up, who's our shadow, that Peridot might have to choose at a point. She can either rejoin Yellow Diamond and turn on Steven and the Crystal Gems, or fight with them. And I feel like she's going to fight with them and end up sacrificing herself and getting shattered by Yellow Diamond to save Steven. And this is going to be the thing that pushes Steven into that point of no return to really fight 100%. And I'm scared about what that means for Steven as a person, as a character, but I'm also excited to see him be tested in such a way. I think the best characters are those that are faced with insurmountable emotional challenges, and when they come out on the other side, who they are. But I'll be interested to see what happens. I'm super nervous, but excited. I hope you guys are excited too. That's it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll make sure to do more analysis and breakdowns of episodes in the future. Make sure to show some love to that like button, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys all next time. But for now, you've been awarded some Geek XP.